Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Coming to you from Washington's premier indoor shooting facility. Of course, that's Security Gun Club right here in Woodinville, Washington. Hey, we're going to talk again about red flag laws. In particular, we're going to talk about one state that has found them to be very, very useful to disarm a lot of people, and many of which might not be for particularly good reasons. Now, anytime some state's kicking around the idea of passing red flag laws, those who oppose them will say, listen, these laws will be abused, these laws will be misused, and innocent people will be disarmed. And of course, everyone on the other side just thinks it's all hyperbole and fear-mongering, and that's never going to happen. Well, we're actually going to show you a state that has gotten very nefarious and very sinister with how they're using red flag laws. And if it's happening in this state, well, it can happen in any of yours as well. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about how they're red flagging children to disarm their parents.
Well, and just to give people the type of understanding of the financial catastrophic occurrence that occurred, you and I are both privy to people who have been involved in lawful self-defense situations, pulled the trigger with legal justification, faced potential legal consequences, and had to fight for their freedom. Didn't have coverage. How much money did it cost them to win their freedom?
You know, I really don't think that people really can grasp, you know, the magnitude of expenses. You know, most recently, and you and I have talked about this in the past, the Kyle Rittenhouse case brought a lot to light.
Right to bear, that's right. Legal protection for self-protection. Listen, good lawyers aren't cheap. Cheap lawyers aren't good. You're not truly prepared unless you have right to bear back you. You will always get an attorney-answered hotline, so you will always have a confidential phone call. There are no cap limits for either civil or criminal defense. This covers all forms of self-defense. So from a fist to a firearm, from a fat lip to a dead body, you are covered, and you will have some of the nation's most passionate 2A attorneys in your corner fighting for you. And right now, if you visit my friends at protectwithbear.com and you use the promo code WGL, you will receive 10% off. Listen, you need to protect yourself so that you can protect them. Visit my good friends at protectwithbear.com. Okay, America and Michigan. We're going to talk about Michigan. Why? Because I found an article in the Detroit Free Press that had basically gone back and taken a look at a year's worth of what happened in Michigan's red flag laws. And we found in actually a little less than a year. It was about 2 weeks short of a full year. 321 individuals in the state of Michigan had been disarmed through Michigan's red flag laws. But one of the things that the Detroit Free Press found when they were going through the data is at least 3 cases, one involving a 10-year-old boy, one involving an 8-year-old boy, and one involving a 6-year-old boy. And you're saying, wait a second, you're telling me that the state went after red flag laws after these children? The answer is yes, they did. Yes, they did. Now, I'm not entirely certain what the nuances of Michigan's red flag laws are, but in general, you have to prove 2 things. Number one, that the person would be a danger to themselves or others if they had access to firearms. And number 2, they in fact have access to firearms. Now, last time I checked Michigan law, last time I checked federal law, there is no 10-year-old, 8-year-old, or 6-year-old who can lawfully be in possession of any firearms. What is actually happening here? Well, in all 3 of the instances, these young people engaged in behavior that was concerning at the school, okay? And let's take that in arguendo. We're not going to get into the details of all that, but let's say they had emotional outbursts or moments of emotional unregulation where they made violent comments or threatening comments to other students and things such as that, okay? What happened in all of those instances is that somebody believed that the parents may own firearms. There was never an allegation of the firearms being unsecured. There was never an allegation of the children actually having access to the firearms. Most 6, 8, and 10-year-olds should not have access to firearms. There was merely an allegation that the parents may have owned firearms. And in that situation, when the red flag order was granted against the respondent, and remember, the respondent here would be the 6-year-old, the 8-year-old, or the 10-year-old, Law enforcement then went to the home of the parents, obviously, and disarmed everybody. They removed all of the firearms. Translation, they red flagged the kid to get the parents' firearms. In fact, the Detroit Free Press found that actually there was at least 7 cases involving minors, and they also found that the likelihood of the state of Michigan courts granting a red flag order were pretty good, because the data broke down like this. 73.4% of the time, the red flag order was issued, while 21.48% of the time, the order was denied. And the Detroit Free Press also found that of the 384 requests that were made, 237 where the order was granted were granted ex parte, which is a fancy way of saying the other side didn't even know there was an order going on, didn't even know an order had been issued until the police showed up to confiscate the firearms. Now, this has some lawmakers in Michigan pretty concerned, and as you may recall, Michigan did flip its House of Representatives to Republican this last election cycle. So a bill is kicking around now that will repeal Michigan's red flag laws, but Michigan, realistically speaking, even if it makes it out of the House, that's as far as it's going to get at the current time. Let us also remember that Great Lakes Gun Rights, which we're going to go ahead and link up down below, has a constitutional challenge against Michigan's red flag laws, which apparently were passed in violation of your Open Meetings Act when they didn't allow people to testify against the bill. But Michigan, and for everyone else around the country, here's the problem with red flag laws. Number one, even if we assume an arguendo that there are certain people who absolutely positively demonstrate the need to be disarmed, okay? There is no way anywhere in any state right now in which red flag laws are actually implemented that even has a scant scintilla of due process to it. There is no real meaningful notice, and there absolutely is no meaningful opportunity to be heard. And then you see abuses like what we see here in the state of Michigan, where law enforcement on at least 3 instances now have red flagged children ages 10, 8, and 6 in order to what? That's right, disarm their parents. And that is why they are going to continue to use these red flag laws against kids to disarm mom and dad. Listen, we're going to go ahead and link up all of the stories we relied upon in making the video down below so that you guys can geek out on it for yourself. If you got any questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. But if you don't, that's okay. That information down there in the description box. If you got an idea for a video we should be doing around here, cool. Click on that link right there and tell us all about it. If you want to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, the ability to do all of that is right down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, America, let's remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.